Welcome, everybody, to Bros on Nuggs, episode 4, my friends, episode 4. And we're here with special guest, Chris, friend and neighbor, Byswinger. Is it Wanger or Winger? Wanger. Okay, just checking. Every time I read it, I'm like Wanger, but it sounds funny to me to say it out loud.
It's an honor to be on the Best Nuggets podcast in the 80909.
Oh, dude. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a lot of pressure because we were just sticking to the 900 block of Sheridan. You think the whole 80909?
I think zip code area, not 903. I'm sure there's a couple dudes.
Yeah.
in the garage pumping out some content.
No. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll expand if Chris feels comfortable with that. From now on, it's the 80909.
I like it.
That's big, man. That's big news today. Really big news. We were gonna call episode 4 A New Hope. But we're going to entitle this one A New Nope. And we're trying not to be negative today. But it's been a rough go. I hope you guys bear with us. We are also babysitting and raising our children, whatever you want to call it. Probably raising our children is a better...
babysitting when they're yours.
When they're your own kid.
Babysitting when they're yours.
Taking a weird ride home.
So while we're in the studio here, you may hear a few screams, a few daddies, a few that's not fair, things like that might pop up from time to time. So please bear with
Something breaks. One of us will have to leave. Check that out.
Bad parenting 101.
But I am trying to incentivize my daughter by getting her a Lego set if she can handle all the children for the next, hour while we're doing this.
We believe.
We'll see how it goes. Tim, how'd you sleep last night?
Horribly.
All right.
It was terrible. It was not good. Which was unfortunate because I was hungover from New Year's. So I'm really looking forward to that sleep.
So you've had 2 rough nights in a row.
Yeah.
That's
okay. The first one was my own doing.
Yeah.
So I can't be mad at anybody. And the second one, I guess, is my own doing as well. It's my child, so can't be mad at anybody.
Do you guys have any special New Year? What a weird New Year's this year was. What'd you guys do?
I sat at home. FaceTime with you guys.
I'll share my New Year's tradition is to cook eggs Benedict for my wife.
Oh.
We met on New Year's Eve, so
beautiful.
One night stand kind of style, but didn't end up being a one night stand. So it's our tradition. When we got to breakfast the next morning at the Sheridan in Telluride, we got eggs Benedict. So every New Year's morning, I make my wife eggs Benedict. So I'll share that tradition.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah, I just I drink a lot of champagne. I don't typically drink champagne. That's fun. Chris?
I believe we eventually stumbled upon a bourbon documentary.
And
cool. While I was ironically drinking Mexican whiskey, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. And then we switched to bourbon for the documentary.
Perfect.
And then probably went to sleep and then woke up again around midnight for the fireworks.
I was gonna say,
Nice.
I was gonna say, did you make it to
I had
midnight?
zero intention of making it, and then it turns out when you're in bed and everyone's in the street watching the fire, it's like, oh, all right. So, yeah,
that's good stuff, man. I made it to midnight, and then I found a Coldplay live from Jordan. That you guys know I'm a sucker for Coldplay, but
You also talked to us until almost 2.
I did. I get to rambling, people. I get to talking too much. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
So now that
It was productive.
it was very much so. So the Nuggets are 1-5 to start the season, and as we tried to stay positive last week, it's getting a little bit more difficult now. We picked up that W against Houston, so why don't we start with the Houston game, if you guys don't mind? Houston was not good. First of all, right? We should have beat them. They had a bunch of dudes out. I think they were playing with just 9 that night. And things were happening in our favor, obviously, with Jokic and not even having to score at all in the second half is always a good sign. But is Houston indicative of who we can be, or unfortunately is the other 5 games who we are? Do you guys just want to – let's just start talking Nugs. What do you think?
Well, I think it's really early, and it's frustrating for what our expectations were this season. Just seeing them play. Again, when you let Christian Wood knocked down 3 threes in a row, but that guy's having a hell of a season early. I'm again continuing to worry about them, but I will say this about the Rockets game is that passing exhibition by Jokic was really fun to watch. Yeah. That pass to Barton that he made, I don't know how you see that. So he dropped his career high 18 assists. So like again, to be positive here, at least Jokic is ready to play well. And like you said, he didn't even have to shoot in the second half really, and he still dropped like a 26, 25 point triple double. So excited to see where Jokic is at. And yeah, I mean, they didn't have Wall, they didn't have Cousins, they didn't have Gordon, but everybody's gonna be dealing with this with COVID. It's hitting us right now with MPJ. So I'm glad they won. They needed that win. Would have been nice to see the Kings, but we'll get to that later.
You know what else we're gonna get to later? Will, we're going to get to Jokic's triple doubles. I think Chris and I started talking about this last night, and we're going to get to that later as well.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that.
We'll get to that later. Tim, thoughts on that Houston game?
Well, it was just nice to see us win. Jokic ball out. It's always tough with James Harden in the house. That dude's unguardable. He gets a lot of favorable calls.
Yes.
A lot of favorable calls, which is very frustrating. But he had a good first half, but we stepped up our defense in the second half, started double teaming him, picking him up at half court, which really helped. But yeah, Jokic's triple double was awesome. It was good to see some guys making some buckets and hustling on the boards as well.
Yeah.
It was just proof of how we can play. Although the Rockets aren't very good this year, I say that, and we're horrible right now. I think we can turn it around, but I think the Rockets are really going to just struggle all season. But who knows? They'll probably be better than we are.
Well, Coach Malone did say we're not a very good team right now this week, which makes me nervous.
Yeah.
If we can talk Harden for 1 second, because the dude's going to get traded at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to be. I will admit, and I'm not happy to admit this. For a while there, I was in that camp of just watch the way he moves his body and he's able to create contact in ways that other people can't. And then when I watch him now, I'm just like, no, dude, you just get calls because you're the main ball handler all the time and you have the name. But yeah, dude, he is going to be traded. There's rumors to the Sixers. There's rumors to the Celtics. Where else are there rumors?
Raptors and Nuggets.
Nuggets. Now, what do you think? Because you're on top of this.
This is my world.
Yeah,
I love this stuff. So all the teams that are interested in Harden, and frankly, everyone in the league should be interested in James Harden because he is a perennial top 5 MVP guy. He's an offense unto himself.
Correct.
When he needs to be.
Absolutely.
He takes a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, because dominant ball. I mean, he just pounds the thing in. In his defense, not that he plays much, but that was the offense. That's what Houston had. Right. That was D'Antoni and Morey saying, this is how we're going to play. We're giving James the ball, and this is how it's going to go. And so no wonder it doesn't work with like a Chris Paul or a Westbrook. And he's one of those guys, and so that's where he has to take that criticism. However, if I'm Denver, I absolutely trade for him. I absolutely do. Because you don't decimate your team if you give them MPJ, Barton, and Gary Harris. Salaries all work. You'd have to throw in 1, if not 2, either picks or pick swaps.
Yeah.
Financially, it works, though.
Yeah.
And then in the end, you still keep Millsap, who has been probably the best story of the season so far, aside from Jokic and what he's evolving into the triple-double machine. But Millsap, you keep him on a 1-year deal. While he is a tradable asset at $10 million, you're like, he's been great. So you keep that and you go Jokic, Millsap, Harden, Murray. Probably maybe Monte Morris starts in that scenario, but
yeah, it gets a little trickier when you're giving up Barton and Gary, right? Like you'd like to choose between one of those to give up, but you're right, contract wise or salary
wise it works.
Yeah,
and you get Harden for 2 years, maybe 3, because his third year is an opt-in.
That's what's so cool about the trade prospect. There is you've got him locked up for a little bit.
You got him. You know you have him at least for 2 years. Worst case, it doesn't work out. You trade it. Now you probably aren't going to get back what you give up, but why not roll the dice? Because here's here's the ultimate thing with the Nuggets. They are good. They are not great.
Yeah. Oh, definitely this year. No doubt about it.
They're not great. And so I would absolutely go get Harden because all of a sudden he shows he's a willing passer. That's not a question.
Yeah.
And he will move the ball. So all of a sudden you have Murray who moves the ball and scores, and Jokic who moves the ball and scores. You got 3 guys who are willing passers. That's actually a better setup than what the Brooklyn Nets want to put out there with Kyrie and KD, which are non-passers.
Mhm.
Non-passers. Harden would be the best passer on that team if he comes up. So on the Nuggets, and it's been reported,
Right.
they've had the calls.
Yeah.
The calls are out there. The
They're-
offer is
they've
probably
tried
on the
to do it,
table.
yeah.
Houston should be in no rush to move this guy and to make the offers go up as much as possible. I would like to see them do it, if they do it, sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
Get the chemistry, because that's going to be the tough part with Harden, is the assumption that he's going to be a culture killer, when really he's not. He's never been a jerk. He's demanded that he wants to win, but I think he also kind of has to do it for his reputation as well. And the only thing you really got to do is put Shotgun Willies and Labo M on notice that James Harden's coming to town, and this could work out. So
Never been to either of those establishments, so I don't know what you're talking about. You almost had me convinced, because I'm not convinced that James Harden is a good fit for the Nuggets, but you have me this close to being convinced. You guys' thoughts on that?
It completely depletes us at wing. We're already the 29th worst team on defense. We're the 6th best scoring offense. It's not like scoring is a problem for us. It's the defense and rebounding. You lose MPJ, and our bench is also one of the worst in basketball. We completely deplete that. If you're going to do that, you need to get another wing from Houston, and I don't know who you take from Houston. Maybe one of those young guys like I can't remember.
Daniel House, or
Yeah,
I actually would maybe
PJ Tucker,
PJ
but I don't
Tucker.
think they would throw Tucker in there.
I don't want a 36.
Well, he wants out, so I think that's why.
So
that might be a secondary.
And
Yeah.
I respect James Harden's game, but I don't like I don't think it fits with us and the way we play. I could be wrong if it happened, but I just don't see it. And I also read the ESPN article about maybe this isn't Harden's fault, about how Houston let him do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
And I've just seen and how he acts on the court sometimes. And we're so culture and continuity and doing it the right way. But Chris is completely right. We're good, not great. Do you take that risk? And MPJ could be a superstar. Is he going to be James Harden MVP status in 4 years, 3 years? I don't know. So I get the risk in wanting to do it, particularly it looks better when you're not playing very well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think we need some 3-and-D guys. I'd rather do some smaller trades, like they said, about even if we don't get Harden, jumping in with someone else in a 3-team deal. And gosh, give us another, like, if you get rid of Gary and Barton, then give us a 3-and-D guy. Like, look how better the Suns are defensively with a guy like Jay Crowder. We need a Jay Crowder on our team because we don't have Torrey anymore and we don't have Grant. So I want to give me a 3-and-D guy in a smaller trade to help. I was talking about, I don't know how we do it with Indiana, but I'd like TJ Warren.
Right.
Or something like that. So,
Yeah.
He's more 3, not so much
D.
He is a 3 guy.
I think you go after some of those Spurs wings and that. Be if
DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan.
And maybe not even DeRozan, but maybe my boy D. White.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
he just got
Right.
Yeah.
But Tim just said it, when Harden is doing all that stuff and getting foul calls, it drives you insane, right?
Yeah.
You get a lot of when he's on your team.
He's on
You're
your
super
team.
excited
Well,
about
it's like Peyton Manning. I didn't like him until he was a Bronco. I used to frustrate me when I would watch him just dissect the Broncos defense, and then he joined us, and I was like, oh yeah. So I'm with Will. I don't like it. I get all your points, very solid points. Makes it sound a little better in my mind, but I just don't like Harden. I think he'd be kind of toxic to our environment.
Could be.
I
think that is the risk.
And that is the risk. It would be, what he brings in. I mean, obviously he's going to be bringing in points. He's going to be bringing in clutch shots. He's going to be bringing in things you want to see, but kind of toxic. And I feel like that'd be a lot to give up, three players and draft picks for James Harden seems a little steep to me already.
Yeah.
If it was a little less, I wouldn't mind getting him for a little less. I just think that's a little steep.
Yeah, the question with acquiring Harden, which I think we have the assets to do, as Chris was explaining, and in that sense, it does make sense. And if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense, right? But I worry about. We've also been a very good team about developing youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been able to plug and play guys who are younger or from overseas and stuff because of our development program with the Nuggets. And I worry when you start to give some of that away and you go all in on a James Harden. And I'm going to ask you guys a question in a second that kind of gets to this. But Harden has never won really anything, right? And so you go all in on a guy who's never won anything. And I prefer to go in on all in on a Chris Paul than all in on a James Harden. Chris Paul last night showed his leadership. He didn't have to be the dude, but when it was time to be the dude, he was the dude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
James Harden has to be the dude all the time, even at the end of a game.
He just had to be, though. He's not.
No.
He left Oklahoma City because he wanted to be the main
He
guy.
got traded.
He did.
Well, I know, but he wanted out.
But Morey saw it that
He wanted out of OKC.
Yeah.
But to your youth and development point, though, this does accelerate what they probably need to get out of RJ Hampton a year earlier, maybe 2 years earlier.
Yes.
Who has shown like he'll do it.
He
He's too young and dumb not to know any better.
Right.
Which I love about that kid.
Me too.
And this also puts probably Zeke in the lineup a little sooner because you lose, which that kid's smart and that kid plays really well and he plays his role. He knows his limitations and he doesn't take chances, which for a young forward is really what you want. So the other big thing with it too is Harden plays a lot of minutes. So you talk about like what you're losing in this and that. He plays minutes, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to be like, he's going to be on the floor. He shows up for every game. He regardless of what he did the night before, shows up for every game.
He does.
Plays his minutes, gets his points. This would also be the best set of teammates he's ever played with.
Yeah.
Outside of Team USA ball.
Yeah.
And I
or
think,
potentially the beginning of the OKC.
Or the OKC lineup when they were really young.
Yes.
But I think it'd be interesting to like have an alternate reality to see how it plays out. From a curiosity standpoint,
okay,
they could score 130 points a night.
I'm with you.
Give up
on your NBA 2K
team, but they still beat them by 10. So.
Yeah, devil's advocate, Dave. So I'm not in on the Harden trade directly to the Nuggets. I am in on the Nuggets being involved in a Harden trade to get some other people. But the devil's advocate, Dave, and me is all in with Chris here, because then you would actually legitimately have a big three. What would worry me, as I mentioned earlier, was development. I think if you bring Harden in, Murray has to take a back seat to that, which makes me a little nervous because I love watching Murray play and the way he's gotten. But you would legitimately, for the next 2 years, have a big. You'd have a big three.
Feared.
You would. You'd have a big three.
And so the sneaky teams that might slide in there and get him. And this is why if I'm Denver, I'd rather have him than not. Because if there's any team in the West that's going to get him, Portland's been in the conversation.
That's true, yeah.
And,
don't send him the play.
That's too many guards.
I mean,
well, that's too many guards. McCollum, right? They would have to.
They'd have to give up McCollum.
They'd probably lose McCollum. They'd probably lose like Zach Collins, and they probably get gutted, frankly. But
right.
So
maybe you do it. So maybe
if he's going to the East, teams like Orlando should get in on that, which I had talked to my brother about months ago. Like, I don't see how Orlando, who's non-relevant, goes after Harden. Like, they should go after Harden. But again, if you go the route of being a facilitator in the Harden trade, are you getting a player that's going to make you great? I still think there's not much out there. You're depending on MPJ to elevate you. And he hasn't shown that yet. He had one good game this season so far and a loss. I think it was one of the Kings games. But other than that, I think if you're Tim Connolly, who thankfully is probably one of the best 3 GMs in the league, you're looking at it and saying, do I really want to roll the dice on, boy, MPJ is hopefully going to be really good, or I can bring in 30 points a night with James Harden and just see how it goes and try to really be something weird.
Yeah, and I really like where MPJ is right now. Like, I mean, other than the fact of he has COVID, but I like where
Is
he's
he
on.
gonna get a shot? You think he's gonna get the vaccine?
Yeah. No, he will not. We know the answer to that, right? He's not touching that vaccine. But yeah, I mean, to give that up, he's played decently this year. That's just a tricky one. My big worry with MPJ, since we're on the MPJ subject here, and
Is he
why
part of the trade? Yeah.
why if he were to be a part of a trade like that, why I might be okay with it is I fear the dude at some point is just gonna get another injury that's like gonna just end him. You know what I mean? So if you can cash in on that to get James Harden, then maybe again it's devil's advocate Dave here, but maybe bring him in. No,
I don't know.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
You guys
now,
make
like,
great points.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if it's worth it.
I-
We're horrible at defense, and
Right.
getting rid of some of our, like Gary Harris is probably our best wing defender right now.
Have to
And
give
so
that up.
you're going to give him
Bill
up.
Sapp might be right now.
I mean, and you give him up, and then we're already struggling on the outside, and you bring in James Harden, who we've all seen just step out of the way of guys going in for layups. His defense is just as bad.
He's a matador.
Yeah,
He's
his
an
defense
absolute
is just as bad as Michael Porter Jr.'s. So, I mean, that would be a trade-off. But I still think in the playoffs we're going to need some. If we make the playoffs, we're going to need some sort of defense. And I don't see a trade bringing Harden in, giving us what we would need defensively to compete against teams like the Lakers and the Clippers.
Sidetrack, difficult question, but because it was asked last night while we were watching the game, who's the best player in the NBA now who's never been to the NBA championships? The finals, yeah. Who would it be? Is it Chris Paul?
It's Chris Paul.
Is it Carmelo Anthony?
Right
Is it
now in the
James
NBA?
Harden? Is it Nikola Jokic?
Yeah. Maybe it's Jokic.
Yeah, right?
Is it Markelle Fultz?
Yes,
Tatum?
I wanted to say one more thing, and sorry to get back to
No,
this.
you're good.
No, I really wanted to say this is like, look, maybe this year is going to be kind of a wash with the Nuggets in regard to their championship. But
Right.
after Harris and Barton come off the books, and we have a lot more cap space, and we keep MPJ, we could really again
Build
get
some
better.
stuff,
I mean, we offered Grant $20 million. He still didn't want to stay with us because of MPJ. But
So did you see it?
maybe that's how they're looking at it. If you don't do a Harden deal, you're right. Like if the window's now, like we have to try to win this year.
Mhm.
You do the Harden trade. If you go, we still are getting better every year with our three best players, and then next year when we can. Well, Barton's a player option, so he's going to definitely take that money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Would you not?
I don't know about that because next year the salary cap goes up, and it's going to be one of those years where people do stupid things.
Yeah.
Like teams will throw stupid money at it.
That's maybe why you don't do it, just to add on to it. Like,
Right.
You because you go, hey, if we're not it this year because of the losses we had, is it? But you get Harden for 2-3 years. So interesting, very interesting topic. Very interesting.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's
to your
trade
point-
scenario for sure.
I think to your point, like again, going back to Tim Connolly being really effing good at his job. If they don't do it, you're like, cool, because they see a future option, just as you're describing, like our cap space, the people who be available, the draft next year is supposed to be like 10 times better than this year's draft. And they still walked away with two great guys in this year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
Even drafting in the 20s, they're still going to get a guy.
Yeah.
So long term, you still trust their process and be like, well, if they didn't think it was the right move, then you can't fault them.
If I may make one more point before we move on from the trade talk, which is going to happen. James Harden is getting traded.
He's getting traded.
The question is to who, and are the Nuggets willing to do that? Do you guys remember how much people were afraid of Allen Iverson coming to the Nuggets?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
psyched.
That's
It
one.
was awesome.
Kill it too well.
It was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's a really
That's
nice thought to bring up. Like
that's
it's
the
the
last-
same
Yeah.
type of.
Oh, same player, man. Well,
Same
not
type of-
same.
Okay,
Same
so
player got elevated us to another level, but it was when we
Yeah.
got rid of AI and brought in Chauncey.
Is that where we
made
made
the Western
where we
Conference
really
Finals.
went up.
You're
So
right. You're right.
and
maybe
that-
there's a better player out there who can elevate us higher than Harden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it,
I don't
dude.
know.
So if he gets traded, where do you think Harden winds up? What's your gut say? Harden gets traded to this team.
Raptors. They've done it before.
I think that's a great call.
Yeah, Ujiri would smart like that.
Riley greedy on championships.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if Siakam's in that. I don't know what it looks like, but I would see the Raptors doing that.
I see the Raptors doing that, or the Celtics. I see the Celtics making a play on that. Yeah, those would be my two teams, and maybe the Sixers. Those would be. I don't know why it has to be up in the Northeast. Maybe because I'm trying to get him as far away.
Right. You want a Nugget? You want him in the East.
Right.
I want to see him go to the Knicks, where careers go to die.
If I'm like really thinking like where's he legitimately going to wind up, I'm gonna go with the dark horse City Heat because Riley is greedy for championships.
Oh, well, that would be a good one too, though.
And he and Butler. Well, I think they would get into an on-court fight.
Right.
You couldn't. It's just they get gutted. They just get gutted on that Heat team with that. So it just depends. But I'm gonna say the Heat.
I think the Heat and the Nuggs would be similar situations in that trade where you have to give up some pieces that you may not want to.
Denver less so because they have the contracts to do it. So
yeah, absolutely.
What's next up on the agenda?
Well, there's a lot of things on the agenda. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk some motifs throughout the season to this point that are concerning. And the biggest one for me is, and we've talked about this.
Is this I'm not overreacting, you're overreacting?
We're not going to do that yet.
Okay. I was excited.
Okay. I'm not overreacting, you're overreacting.
I thought that's where you're going.
Let's do it.
Motifs would be.
Let's do it. I'm not overreacting, you're overreacting. Tim, is there anything you'd like to not overreact about right now?
A lot, I guess. The terrible start. Had such high hopes. We got the one win, then we went dwindling down the hill.
This is the playoffs. They got it right where we want them.
Yeah. It's been a tough go. I mean, it was nice to see Jamal come out and play. We would have won last night if we had MPJ. Those extra points.
I think so.
Extra rebounds. I guess my biggest overreaction, I don't know, would be angry at Jokic for getting 4 fouls in the third quarter.
Can't win when he's in foul trouble.
Can't win when he's in foul trouble, and he does it a lot, and it's frustrating when he gets into that action of fouling early. Now, one of them was a terrible call. NBA officiating there for you, where he pulled the chair out, and it should have been a travel, but they called a foul on him. That was terrible, but, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, overreacting is that we suck.
He was going up against 54-year-old DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
he looks like 54.
Doesn't he look? He looks like 54. He aged in the same manner as Greg Oden.
Yeah, him and Greg Oden are brothers.
Are you overreacting?
Yeah, I'm overreacting about our bench. Our bench is terrible. They showed a stat last night that we're like the third best team in the first quarter, the 29th best team in the second quarter, and then the fourth best team in the third quarter, and the 29th best team in regards with plus minus in the fourth quarter. And it's because in that early fourth quarter, we have to have all our bench players in, and then we're always playing catch up. And it just completely zaps momentum. You saw it last night. We looked good early. Jamal looked good, as he always does. He always kills the Suns. And you're like, all right, okay. A 30-point first quarter. Obviously, we allowed 30-something to them too. But when our second unit comes in, and I mean, Malone alluded to this, I got to figure out our bench. It's not good. They're not productive enough. They keep pushing out these 4-guard lineups, which aren't working. We were in love with Facu, but he is a liability on D right now, which I didn't really foresee. Who I know Chris talked about earlier. I want to see RJ Hampton now. The guy, Malone said that he's been working his butt off in practice, and he only gave him 3 minutes last night. But man, give this kid a chance. He looks great. When we see him, he doesn't play rookies at all. He just doesn't do it. Well, you got to figure it out. Maybe Nanji and Hampton start getting some run if this continues to go this way. Now, Green finally played last night, who looked great. So hopefully that helps the second unit.
Our rotations have been off.
I just don't think there's any way to understand a rotation quite yet. And it shows you how much, not so much on Jeremy Grant, but on Torrey Craig that depended on, who's not great, but he did a good job in his role.
Yeah.
as did Jeremy Grant. And yeah, I'm not overreacting. You're overreacting, but we are the worst Nuggets team I've seen in the past decade at this point in time. Maybe
Worst start since the J.J. Hickson, Aaron Aflalo.
I'm not.
I
am
love
not.
Aaron Aflalo.
Yes, Aaron Aflalo. Another Aaron Aflalo reference. Awesome. No, I'm not overreacting, but we got to figure some things out, and especially when it comes to defense. But remember, episode 1, maybe we talked
about our depth.
Yeah, well that. But we talked about how we wanted to we were arguing a little bit over whether or not we should be a George Karl sort of run and gun team and just try to outscore people. Malone mentioned at the beginning of the season how he wants to he loves offense, right? Well, something has to give at this point. You either have to really sacrifice your offense for your defense at this point, or
I just laughed at it.
yeah, it's okay.
Doesn't know how to pour beer.
No,
Well,
Continue. You got it amongst yourself.
you gotta
Please.
tilt the
he made a
glass.
really sad
I
face.
digress.
I did.
He made a really sad face.
But we haven't figured out defensive rotations, and you guys both mentioned it. We gotta figure that out.
This is where only playing 4 preseason games is kind of hurting us because we have so many new guys that we weren't able to play with our rotations as much.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're now 5-6 games into the season, we're still trying to figure out our rotations, who matches up with whom, who plays well with whom, and we just haven't figured that out yet. And we're struggling early because we didn't have that extra time to kind of figure out the continuity of these new players. And I think that's part of the reason our bench has been kind of struggling a little.
Agreed, and I do think they have to figure all that out. I don't like when we go super small. We talked about this last week, but I prefer if you're going to go small across the board, at least have Hartenstein.
Yeah,
Hartenstein.
A legit big guy because we really struggle on rebounding when we go small.
Yeah,
offensive rebounding.
But I'm not overreacting. Do you have any overreactions on the Nuggets right now?
I am overreacting to the number of triple doubles that Jokic is already putting up, and I am really afraid that he's got a little Westbrookian mindset right now, and I don't think that's good. Yeah,
we were going to talk about this later, but I think we're going to have to talk about it now. Segue. Transitions are so important.
When you fall in love with stats,
shoot the ball.
When you fall in love with 18 assists, and you kind of saw this last night during the game where he was really forcing some passes to try and make some things happen, and Westbrook did that. Thankfully, he wasn't getting turnovers. Westbrook put up a lot of turnovers during that triple-double.
He did have 10 turnovers that other night.
It just looks too familiar. And so I am overreacting to how people are falling in love with the triple-double with Jokic. I would much rather
him drop 30.
However, they ran an action last night, and I'm trying to think of who the two dudes were, but they ran pick and roll with Jokic, and I think it was Will Barton. And Barton cut, and they left Murray completely wide open in the corner, and the action totally pulled away from Murray for Jokic to throw it right to him for an easy 3, and he nailed it. And it's that's the stuff that if he's getting his assists like that, perfect.
Yeah.
But when he has to really force it, and he's a great high post player. He is one of the best high post passers I've seen since Chris Webber. I love Chris Webber. But I just love when he facilitates from the high post lesser than because when he's at the high post, that's when Millsap's doing his weird stuff down low. Yeah. That's when Murray gets it out here and they can run all that action. But when he's low, he's forcing it. He's trying to do shoulder to shoulder dump off stuff, and that's where it's going to start affecting him. He's
less of a shot threat when he's down low.
Yep. Yeah. Which is weird.
He tends to look to pass the ball more and play with his back to the basket in the low post, which can be frustrating when you can take a guy up for an easy 2.
Absolutely. And he has developed that Dirk from the post, that one step fadeaway.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to watch. But I don't know. I've been thinking about this not just this year, but even last year a little bit. And that is, I think at times, and I don't know who to blame or why to blame it on anyone or even why to bring it up. But I think at times we're so pumped up about a triple double from Jokic, and maybe he's so pumped up about a triple double that it actually hurts the team a little bit. And I don't know if that's a fair comment to make, but
He admitted it the other night.
watching last night, I was just like, I think he needs to just score, man.
Yeah.
We need to
You
do
know what I
more
mean?
last night.
Let's just have him
His
score.
touch is unreal.
You know what I want to see again is Murray set the screen for Jokic when
Right.
Jokic brings the ball up.
Yes.
We did that,
That's
and
lethal.
good things happened
Right.
a lot when we started doing that. Zach Lowe wrote a whole article about it last year.
Right.
I love Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
But I want to see Murray setting the screen for Jokic on an early in the possession as Jokic brings the ball up, and good things always seem to happen off of that action.
Yeah.
Those two guys pick and roll.
And
with
if
each
you
other.
include Gary Harris in that, and he's your corner 3 guy, he's like your bailout guy. Like, then he gets going because now he's getting free open looks, and eventually,
I hope so. I hope so, Chris.
Isn't he only 18%?
18%
from the corner?
corner 3 right now.
Which
Were you
I think
better
I'm
as a
like
corner 3 guy?
17%, so I can't talk.
Yeah.
Not a big 3-ball guy. I'm a 4-man.
Hey, Jim.
But the thing is, Jokic isn't seen as a ball hawk.
No.
Yeah.
So that's why the NBA hasn't started criticizing Jokic's numbers yet, because he's not seen as a ball hawk. Because because he is the point guard of this team.
Yeah.
He's kind of getting the same leeway as they gave LeBron years ago when LeBron dominated the ball.
Who?
That's right.
I will not go that far, my friend.
But he's not getting criticized.
He's not getting the calls, LeBron.
Yeah.
He's not getting the calls either.
No, he doesn't get the calls any.
I mean, and when you see like him in the third, like late in the third, early in the fourth, his arms are just red.
yeah, and then call
Like-
fouls. And
Oh yeah, he's cut up. He's
He's-
beat up.
I said it once. I'll say it again. NCAA officiating is better than NBA.
Is this time out with
officiating.
Tim?
No, I've already
Okay.
done that one.
Okay.
We start talking about his arms being.
Oh, he gets
He's
so
so
beat
beat
up.
up.
He gets
Hey,
beat
Jamal,
up.
Jamal gets the short end of that stick. I don't know why.
So does Paul Millsap.
Millsap,
The
which
Nuggets
he
do.
didn't the first year when he was with us.
They don't love for Paul.
No,
we saw it
it's-
last night several times.
It all goes back to our conspiracy theory of Stern's manipulation,
Small market, big market.
small market, big market, and then Stern hand pointing at Silver, his pocket man. There's just manipulation. It's just it goes up to the highest level. It
Spurs first.
goes up to the highest level.
I can't. Come on, we can't disparage Adam Silver.
Uh,
He's the greatest president in all of professional sports. Like, or the commissioner, he's the best.
Is it because he looks like a real life? Who's that evil guy from the Harry Potter books?
So I don't know.
Voldemort?
Yeah.
Wow.
Does he not look like Voldemort?
I guess.
Okay.
He does look like a villain from a Bond film.
He does.
Yeah.
Monocle.
Yeah.
Button the top button. And the tie.
No, I like
Is that what it is? That's what it is.
He was like, yeah, we're not going to test for weed in the bubble, and we're not going to test for weed this year.
Yeah.
Let's just let that slide under the radar. Just don't do something stupid, NBA.
Just don't do it. I mean, whatever. Let him do it.
I think Silver's brilliant. I don't think there's a conspiracy. When Stern was in power, I think there was definitely a conspiracy.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, there
you
was.
had
There was.
refs
There was.
admitting
Yeah,
to
Refs who were admitting it.
Yeah.
I think the owners are too young.
Donahue.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
the owners are so young now that I don't think they're. I mean, like Utah Jazz owner now is like 42.
Right.
He's like my age, and
I can own a team.
Memphis owner
42.
is young, and
I wish I was that
Cuban
rich.
is still
I got a
relatively
lot to
young.
do.
Like, I just don't think they would allow for stuff like
Yeah.
that because it's too social.
Well, okay. If you could own a team,
Yeah.
let's say the Denver Nuggets,
Yeah.
at your current age, Tim, what would be the first move you make to win a championship? Go.
Wow. Pressure.
God, I didn't even think.
That was not on the pre.
I panicked. That wasn't on the list. I
That was
panicked.
on the notes.
Immediately, my go-to used to be Vince Carter. That's who I thought. He's 40 something. I would still love to bring him in. I love Vince.
Bring in Vince Carter.
I'm in.
Yeah. I'd trade for a big name. I'd find not Harden, but I'd find somebody who's I want somebody down low, like an Embiid, or I need somebody who can bang in the low block.
It'd be cool if Jokic could play a 4
Yeah,
defensively
There's
instead
not
of
many of those dudes anymore.
no.
Actually, the only guy out there,
Dwight Howard,
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner, Dwight
Miles Turner
Howard.
could be that guy.
See, now that's one thing we've been
Embiid.
missing. If we'd have had that last year with facing the Lakers and Howard, I mean, Jokic gets bullied in the low block by a lot of people, and I just think we need to relieve him on that.
Well, and this is like a downfall of not being able to get Steven Adams. Like Steven Adams,
Steven
is that
He's
guy.
another dude that
Steven
would
Adams
help.
would be good. He would help. Yeah.
He just got signed to a long term by New Orleans, which
Right.
I don't really like the fit there with him and Zion. I'm also not on the Zion bandwagon.
Neither am I. I'm not a
Yeah,
big Zion.
I'm not
guy
there.
either.
But Steven Adams is a classic. Like, is that classic guy that will do that type of stuff.
It'd be nice to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zion, dude's a freak athlete though.
Well, that's the thing.
He's massive. He's way too big for how he plays.
That's the thing. He's a freak athlete. He's not a freak basketball player, and that's
He's
what
not a
made
playmaker either.
that's what made LeBron James really interesting. Is he was both a freak athlete and a freak basketball. I'm just saying.
I did enjoy watching his dunk highlights in high school.
Yeah, dude. Zion.
Are
you kidding me? Do you remember when we were hitting each other up like, dude, you got to watch this
Watch
kid.
this dude.
Yeah. Well, Will, you okay?
Oh, we
with that?
digress.
Yeah.
Who would you bring in?
Who would I bring in? I would bring in Jimmy Butler. We need toughness, we need D and leadership, and he's a dog, man. Even Scott Hastings always calls him a dog.
Yeah.
You know? And I would love to get Jimmy. And and the NBA loves him, and he's just tough. And he's clutch, and he's dependable. I would bring in Jimmy Butler because we always seem to need wing help, and I know that probably means, I don't know, maybe MPJ plays power forward or shooting guard, or maybe you play Jimmy Butler as a shooting guard.
That's what you do.
But let me find a way to get Jimmy Butler.
Oh, I would love Jimmy Butler. That's never happening. I like Victor Oladipo.
That's a fun name to say too.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, just shooting guard.
Victor
That'd be pretty cool.
Oladipo at the 2.
Take it, Oladipo.
Oladipo is interesting because he can be had because he's not signed.
Right.
He's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year, I think.
Maybe that's who we go after.
And maybe that's the money that you don't spend on James Harden that you brought out.
Yeah.
And you go after Oladipo. He's not a guy that dominates the ball.
Nope.
And Indiana's turned their entire offense over to Sabonis' kid.
Correct.
Who's great. And I love me some Arvydas Sabonis.
Oh, man.
And I feel like he's always been like Jokic is the new Arvydas.
Yeah.
He's not your Arvydas. He's not my Vetus.
He's our Vetus.
Is that?
But Oladipo's solid. That would be a good pickup. They already changed the brown seats in the Pepsi Center, right? Because it's now Ball Arena.
Yeah, it's Ball Arena.
So would not be my move as owner. I might change them back, actually.
Back to the brown?
Yeah.
That's
Cola
his first
Brown.
move.
the Pepsi Cola brown.
My move.
Are they all going to be silver now, like aluminum?
My move would be to make sure that you keep Conley as long as you can.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, and I know that sounds like a bailout answer, but we're now seeing GMs dominating this. They will dominate this decade, and like Masai Ujiri is not signed for next year.
Right.
Like he's going to be a free agent next year. He's not coming back to Denver because he's not Conley, and that's fine. He's gonna go and build a team somewhere. He's probably going to Orlando and build a dominant team, right? But Conley is smart.
Oh,
He
yeah.
knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
and you see what OKC did in the draft and what they're going to do. They have literally like 20 picks in the next 5 drafts or something like that, and they're high picks.
Yeah.
A GM really matters, and Conley is someone that I would keep to make sure I never lose that brain.
Yeah, I agree. In Connolly we trust, right? Like we've spoken about that.
Absolutely.
And it has to maintain. All right.
I would Jerry Jones it and just get so far into the team. And I would have my own press conferences. Everything went through me, and it would all be about me.
Yeah.
And I'd put out a team, and we'd suck, and I would blame somebody and fire a coach.
And you got a kid
Vicious
who
circle.
can like come with you like Stephen Jones does
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So you're like, we're just running this together.
We're just doing it.
Is Soph willing to Dave. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Jerry Jones like half? Oh, it is working in your favor. Soph is like half your age, right?
no, it works.
No, that'd be creepy.
Come on.
I'm not quite that old yet, Dave.
Come on, man.
She turns 30 here shortly,
Okay. All right.
in 2 days.
Here's a quote, my friends, from Scott Hastings before the Sacramento game this week. I don't know if he changed it as much as he remembered what he was doing Do you know who he's referring to with that quote? I don't know if he's changed as much as he knows he remembers he knows what he's doing.
It's a Millsap quote.
Will Barton.
No.
What Millsap?
One more time. I don't know if he changed it as much as he remembered what he was doing. A quote about a player by Scott Hastings.
Murray?
No.
Bull.
No.
Jokic?
Gary Harris, guys.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
We should have seen that coming.
Yeah, you should
Should have seen it coming from Dave. He loves Gary Harris.
We have a real issue here, my friends.
Dude, he can't hit the broadside of a
Well, I think we've got a real big issue. And this is why I think we need to be in play for a trade.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the season, I would not have said this, but it's time now, I think. You have to give up either Gary Harris or Will Barton because they are not fitting in together. Although it could be argued, if you watched the Suns games last night in the second half, Will Barton and Gary Harris were playing together down the stretch, and we were getting defensive stops. So you could say that, right? But offensive production is 0 to none. I don't know what you do there, but what do you guys think when it comes to Will Barton and Gary Harris, how they fit into our team this year? Willie?
You know how much I love these two. So
Hey, Will on Will?
I want to get rid of both of them. I want to get rid of both of them, but I do love Gary's defense. And while Will Barton only scored 2 points last night, he was clutch in the end defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was interesting with MPJ being out. I really thought Will Barton was going to be like, oh, man, this is my time to shine.
Yeah. Right.
Like, show that, hey, I was supposed to be part of this starting lineup, and I'm not going to – now that, because of COVID protocols and all that, I'm not going to give this back up. I'm going to drop like 25 tonight, and we're going to beat the Suns by, 10, 15, and I'm going to show you that we're a better team with me in the starting lineup.
Yep.
Didn't see it. And it was made me pretty sad.
Me too.
I want Barton to be successful, but he frustrates the living hell out of me. And – God, dude, can Gary Harris just make a freaking shot, a corner three, please? He's wide open so many times, and other teams are just like, don't worry about that. When he catches the ball because like he hasn't shown to make it consistently.
I'd like for you to stay on that track, but last night Gary Harris in clutch time, if he dunks that ball.
Oh man!
Right, but Tim brought it up earlier.
He
He's
just
like,
does it with one hand.
He
does one hand. Always, like there'll be three guys on him. He throws it up with one hand.
Yeah.
His shot just hasn't been the same since his leg injury.
Yeah, it just never has really come back.
And it just he doesn't have that lift that he had or whatever.
No,
it is
he can't even dunk like he used to.
No,
remember how explosive he was? Like almost
that injury really changed the way he played.
He was almost like a J.R. Smith in terms of how explosive he was.
Vertical.
Yeah. And then that's gone. And now he can't find his legs under his 3-point shot. And but I don't want to give up on him because he's so crafty defensively. Like
he was cutting well last night.
In the Rockets game, do you remember in the Rockets game where he actually eggs James Harden on to a move that he knew he could just rip it from him? I don't know if you guys remember it. It was like in the third quarter. James Harden was trying to drive to the basket, but Gary Harris like intentionally like eggs him on, like, oh, I got beat, and then strips it from him. But that's how crafty he is defensively. But offensively,
I love his defense, but his offense is gone.
But Will Barton scored 2 points last night.
2, 1 for 7.
Yeah.
And you nailed it. Like that was his chance to absolutely prove his point.
Mm-hmm.
And now I look at his stat lines in every game and like, how'd Will Barton do? Because he talks a lot. And he can play.
Yeah,
we know what he can do because we've seen it in the past. I do think his mind is still hung up on the injury, especially leg injuries. Like that,
leg injury, I think that's what it is when it's a shot.
When you're a basketball player, like your legs are everything. If it was like a shoulder injury, well, then you're Markelle Fultz, who's been not referenced twice. But all right, so if you're done with Gary and Will Barton, Gary Harris and Will Barton traded for Kevin Love, would you do that?
There was a point in time where I would have loved to have Kevin Love on our team.
Yeah, ditto. That was
there was a point in time where our name was kind of thrown around with him a little bit, and I really wanted to make that happen. But now I think that'd be too much for him. Now he's a little
is I think if you're moving guys, it's not going to be who you really, really want.
Does anyone know how Kevin Love is doing? Has anyone checked in on Kevin Love?
I currently hurt.
Is
currently
injured.
Which he
He's
wants
staying
out
in
of
Yeah,
Cleveland
that's
badly.
why. Currently injured.
Cleveland
Come
wants
up with the Nuggets, and you're on IR.
Yeah.
Cleveland wants to turn that thing massively over to Colin Sexton and
Yeah.
Darius Garland, who has the nickname, if you haven't heard. Do you know what that backcourt pairing nickname is?
Garland Sexton.
It's better than that. What would be the worst nickname for guys named Garland and Sexton?
Oh,
Let me flip it around. Sexton and Garland. What would be the worst name?
Sex car.
Garfield
It's
Sex.
better than that. It's Sexland.
Oh,
Sexland.
yeah,
That's a
Cleveland.
thing.
Yeah.
Should have thought
That's a
about
thing.
that.
Cleveland will
Sexland.
Right over my head.
So I just tried to trade on the trade machine,
Oh.
and it works too. And the benefit is you would get Kevin Porter Jr. back. So the Nuggets would have two Porter Jr.
Two, Porter Jr. 1, Porter Jr. 2.
Oh, the trade machine's fun, isn't it?
I love it.
The trade machine is fun. Oh, dude.
But you're
it's such
right.
a
I mean,
rabbit hole.
It is infuriating to watch Barton and Harris get minutes. And if Barton's going to keep shouting how he needs to be a starter, then
How
go
long-
be a starter in Cleveland.
How long is MPJ out for because of COVID stuff?
There's
Well, it's contact tracing. He doesn't have COVID. Like he said,
No, he has
3
COVID.
games, and one was last night.
3 games, so
But if he has it,
so-
then he's out.
then he's out for a long.
he doesn't.
So-
It was
so
contact
Burton-
tracing.
Garb got the hot take. It was contract tracing.
He's got a
That's what it said.
couple more.
He got
games
COVID
to
in the
prove his
bubble.
point.
If you
He's
before
got
you
a
went to the
couple
bubble.
more.
At least 2.
Well, you can catch COVID multiple times.
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of like.
So he's got 2 more games to kind of prove his point.
Probably 2 more games. Probably the 2 Minnesota games.
And he's got to do it next. He's got to do it in the next.
Well, he's got to. He has to.
Well, it's
Although
Minnesota.
he's-
So.
We need to win.
He's going up against Malik Beasley, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Talking about
Who just
some
got
sour
signed
grapes.
for like $65 million on
Right.
felony charges, by the way.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, I remember. Was that TJ Ward who beat up Beasley in that hotel room?
It was Sue Cravens.
Sue Cravens. That's who it was. Sue
Yeah, Sue
Cravens.
Cravens.
And I remember at the time thinking like, I don't like you, Sue Cravens. And then now I'm like, yeah, Beasley probably deserved to get beat up there.
You said TJ Ward, and my head and brain heard that as TJ Ford,
Oh,
former
Yeah.
former Texas 40 guard
Yeah.
football. And I was
Good.
like, I can't see that guy beating up anybody. He's like,
no, good dude, nice
He
guy.
was talking about the Denver Broncos.
Sorry.
TJ Ward.
yes,
Yeah,
no,
Sue Cravens
But it was Sue
crushed
Cravens.
Malik Beasley in that hotel lobby. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it was an after party.
Had it coming.
I'm
sure he had it
Yeah.
coming.
Okay.
But
Probably.
Malik's going to be motivated the next 2 games.
Oh, yes, he will be. And the Wolves have been playing
well,
well.
the T-Wolves are not bad. They're really not bad.
Okay, just side check here. If you do look at the standings, you'll notice
It's easy to find the Nuggets.
We're at the bottom.
at the very bottom.
Very bad.
But you'll notice these teams that did get a lot of rest are
Right.
towards the top of the standings right now. And we talked about this last week, and it should not be an excuse, but
It's the reality.
there is something going on here. When you have the Timberwolves and the Suns and the Kings leading the West, I mean, is that
Not a shock. I mean, now Phoenix played in the bubble. They were
Phoenix
the
did
dominant
play in
in
the
the
bubble.
bubble.
yeah, but
They
they
did great. But they did great in the bubble.
They did. They
Well, then they
had
had
were
Chris
great.
Paul.
I have another thing about the Nuggets being 1-4 right now is we always played down to our competition, right? Like when we beat the Suns last year, which we beat them 4 times out of the 4 we played them, every single game was close. We
Right.
won by like 4 points, 6 points. Same with the Kings. Like when we split that series, like last year we went into overtime. And so these games that we always found ways to win, right now we're not being able to figure that out. Remember when it was like when you're down like last year you were down by 6 or 4 or whatever, you're just like, man, Jokic and Murray just got to figure
They're
out.
gonna
Because
figure
clutch
it out.
time,
Yep.
they just started dominating the ball, and Jokic just always made the right play, and we made clutch shots. We're not making clutch shots right now, but again, these other teams are getting a lot better. The Suns are better.
Agreed. The Kings
Wolves
are better.
The Kings are
The
better.
Wolves are better.
West is
And
tough.
I don't know if we got better. So
I don't think the
I mean,
Nuggets got
it might be tough.
I think that's the problem is they didn't get better. The Kings got better, so they went from being trash to like okay. Because I don't hold out hope for the Kings in the end.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
Nuggets
they-
did not get better.
No, well, the Kings lack depth, but you could say that about the Nuggets right now. And the Suns, are not going to be a top 4 team, but they could be a 6 through 8 team, and we lost to them. And in the second half, we showed that we were willing to beat them. We were willing to, and I liked
What was that second quarter into the first into the second?
Yeah,
quarter.
and I liked rolling out that lineup in the fourth quarter that we had that like literally shut them down, dude. They didn't score in what, like 7 minutes, 6 minutes? It was something crazy. Where we held them without scoring a field goal. But yeah, the thing is, we are better than all those teams. Even if you give Chris Paul to the Suns, we are better than the Suns. And even though the Kings have beat us now twice, and put a bunch of points on us, we are better than them. But we those are games you have to win, and now we're not winning them, and that makes me really nervous going
It's the
in.
depth, man. I'm worried about that second unit.
Yeah, the second.
We got to get our rotations figured out.
Yep.
I think when we get the rotations figured out, our depth will come out. But right now, he's worried about playing too many people.
He's 10 deep right now.
Yeah, he's playing too many people. He needs to get down to 7, 8 people that he constantly plays. Obviously, players are going to get hurt, and you're going to need those other guys to come in. But you need that lineup. You need those second lineup to be able to play at the first to be able to play at the second.
Yeah.
You need the second to be able to come out and like hold their ground. And he's rotating too many people in right now because we quote unquote have so much depth.
Do you guys?
And I think if we can tighten up, like Bill Hansick said last night, tighten up those
Rotations.
those rotations, it would really benefit us.
Well, yeah, I agree. Do you guys like the plus minus stat?
Yeah, it tells you a lot.
Okay, so I watch PJ Dozier, who has a really big plus minus on our team, a really big plus minus. And it's probably because he's really good defensively against 1s and 2s, right?
Mhm.
But offensively, he's contributed nothing. He's not
Frustrating.
making shots. He misses dunks. He misses layups.
He was real frustrating.
Well, he's like
Last night.
22.
No, he's a kid too. He's a kid too. But that plus minus, I think, can be a little bit of a mirage
it's deceiving
sometimes.
if you're out there with Murray and Jokic.
Exactly.
So I see where you're going.
But defensively, he's added that 1 and 2, but he's
got
not.
length. He's got length.
We were
and
hoping
quickness.
he'd guard at 3. He's not going to guard
No,
at
he's
Not
3.
big
And
enough.
they're trying to do that.
Yeah,
and
he's not going to do it. It's not going to help us, man. And that's
However, he will do it.
no, he will
And-
do
and
it, but he's
so-
not going to do it well, and that's a problem.
But I think that because he's young, you can grow into that role. And this is when they drafted Torrey Craig. I remember they drafted Torrey Craig. Like, this dude is skinny and he ain't that great.
Right.
And he got bigger and he got better. He didn't get
Stronger.
great, but he was willing.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
think- and that's the thing with defense. You have to be willing.
Mhm.
Like the days of like the Pistons defense with Ben Wallace and all those, and Tayshaun Prince and all that. That's so done. Like you're gonna give up 100, and that's a good defense now. So
And that's why I think MPJ ultimately is not finishing games for us, is because Will Barton will play better defensively against a 3, even though Will Barton is not really suited to play a 3.
he's slender.
He has effort though. He has
Yeah.
effort and he understands rotations.
Exactly.
MPG
And
gets
he
lost.
communicates.
MPJ
Yeah,
gets
communicate. All you have to do is talk.
lost. MPJ gets
That's
lost.
it. Just talk to each other. And MPJ gets so lost.
He struggles on the defensive end.
And that's what was disappointing at the beginning of the Phoenix game, or the beginning of the third quarter was frustrating because I thought with MPJ gone, we would actually play better defensively, and we did not. And
I mean, we almost held that was a pretty low scoring game. Was it because of the bad shooting? But
it wasn't low scoring in the first half for Phoenix, right? We really fourth quarter.
I felt like we played better defense.
In the fourth,
We
Yeah.
fought.
when you had Will Barton, Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Jokic, and Millsap playing together, you actually stopped the team.
Well, they actually played Monte a lot in the fourth.
They were, yeah.
I love Monte Miller. Or Monte
Monte and Murray together.
Yeah.
But you brought this up earlier. MPJ might be a better 4 than he is a 3 because he doesn't have to run around so much. And that's when he gets lost and he has to run around and chase.
Exactly.
He's not going to run around and chase the forwards because if you think about the power forwards in the West that he predominantly has to go up against, Serge Ibaka's not running around everywhere.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Phoenix's forward is. They might not have one. It might be Chris Paul, probably not. But like if you think about the forwards that he would go up against, the 4-man forwards, might be better suited for him to not chase those guys around and then put in Will Barton and Murray and Morris or Harris and how that all.
Yeah.
Because that rotation thing is important. And unless you're going to run, I always thought the Nuggets should attempt like a 5-and-5 type of rotation. You're going to play 10 guys, then these are the 5 I play, and these are the 5 I play.
Boom, boom, boom.
And
I think that'd be fun.
Like Campazzo and Morris, and that's the squad I'd like to see Barton now, because then he's your main offense. And all these other guys do stuff. And then you got Hartensteins and the Zekes, like, because that team is out there just to wear your other.
It takes you back, and I like that mindset, honestly, from a high school coach's perspective. But like,
Of course he does.
Trapping.
but that's what you do, and that's what the Trailblazers did for a while back in the day. They had like literally 2 units, and they
didn't
would
win
throw
titles,
them
but
on.
they got into the playoffs a lot.
Right,
So.
but I like that a lot. We have to figure out our second unit, guys. You guys know that. Everyone's aware of that. And and Tim, the optimistic side of me is with you. Where we will, after we play these dudes a little bit.
We will. We lost, preseason's usually a lot longer than 4 games.
Correct.
Training camp usually is. You usually get a full break. You're not bringing in all these people all the time, So I think we'll figure it out. It's taking us a little bit longer than we would like, and I think we'll be all right in the end. But
oh man,
when you're doing that with 10 less games, and that is the thing.
That'll add up in the end.
That will
for sure. Slow start will hurt us, but I think we'll be able to turn it around. I think we'll be able to find our rotations.
Yeah,
we'll find out what works for us.
Well, and the difference between being maybe the 2nd seed and the 7th seed,
it's always just like
it's
a
like
game.
3 games.
Yeah, and the
West.
In the West,
games.
In the West too.
And what's going to happen is we're going to figure it out, and somebody's going to get hurt or COVID, and then we'll be trying to figure it out again.
One of those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys, we've done a really good job. One last thing. We got to see a glimpse of JaMychal Green last night, and I thought it was a really positive glimpse. In fact, if we weren't limiting his minutes last night, you might have seen him there at the end defending and popping and picking for that 3, which he did twice early on.
Nice stroke.
Yeah, just early thoughts on seeing JaMychal Green for the first time, Willie?
I think it's a big part of why we have started out slow. He was supposed to be the replacement for Grant, and his range is what we need. We need some 3-point shooters. So him knocking down a couple shots made me pretty happy. We're talking about limited minutes. With strains, you got to take it easy because that's something that could linger throughout the whole season. So I get why they're limiting the minutes, but there are these glimpses that we saw where we could be with him. I think he's a good addition. I like it. I look forward to when he gets completely healthy. I think that's why you saw him miss some shots in the preseason and not shoot as well. It's because he still has this injury that he's dealing with, and hopefully when we figure out these rotations, he'll be a big part of it. I wonder if he even, with him and Millsap, you interchange him at like key moments in the game, and or maybe even depending on like, I don't have any problem playing. Well, maybe depending on the small forward, if you're playing elite teams, putting JaMychal out there instead of MPJ in certain key situations when you need some defense and some rebounding. So I'm excited. It gave me a little bit more hope about why we're figuring things out in this 1-4 start, and I think good pickup. And then Conley, we trust on that one. So
yeah, Tim, thoughts on JaMychal Green?
Will said it well. I like what I saw of him last night, and I think he's going to be one of those people that really help us solidify that second rotation, that second group. Even though he will play with the starters occasionally, I do think he's one of those guys. He's been in the league for a little while now. I really think he'll help solidify our second unit as he gets to play more.
Do you have any thoughts on what you saw last night from him?
What I really like about JaMychal Green, and it's never about starting for that guy, it's about finishing.
Exactly.
And he should be on the floor in late game moments with Jokic because he's not going to do this stupid thing. And if you think about not so much regular season, but playoffs, your future has at least Utah or the Clippers in front of you. And if it gets to the Lakers, he's your guy that's got to slow down Davis. Between him and Millsap, they got to slow down Davis. I think they can do that. But both of those guys built differently, but they play the similar game. And so what I really like about JaMychal Green is that if it comes down to the Clippers, he will willingly guard Kawhi or Paul George. And And he could have re-signed with them
Mhm.
Right.
and said, "No, I'm going to Denver because I'm done with you guys and your drama." And which is ironic that the Clippers are the drama team all of a sudden. Like, that's funny to me.
Right. Yeah.
But I think he has great tools, and I don't think, and this is my big problem with Jeremy Grant, why I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're gone, is he's not going to demand the ball and demand shots and demand
Right.
shine.
Yeah.
He knows what he
His
is.
role.
Yeah.
He knows what he is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was an awesome pickup again in Conley we trust, but he's gonna pay dividends in late game
Later,
scenarios
yeah.
and in the playoffs, and so we won't.
He's a good
And I like that he wears 0. I dig that trend.
Yeah,
I
the
appreciate
zero's a good thing, man. I like the Jermichael Green pickup as well, although watching Jeremy Grant's dunk, and I gave him so much shit for being a poor dunker, but his dunk last night was legit. But Jermichael Green will have issues guarding a 3. I'm just telling you guys that right now,
Yep.
especially an athletic 3. I don't think he can guard Kawhi. He knows him, so maybe he can. But he will be able to guard a 4 and 5, which is awesome because we'll need that. He'll have some issues against athletic 3s defending them. But to the point you guys were all making, he's a veteran. He knows his role. He's willing to play that role. Watching him shoot the 3 last night gave me a lot of hope because I was a little
Great
nervous.
stroke.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about
Mhm.
that. And he was not afraid. He caught it and shot it real fast. And I don't know. I think it's an okay pickup. I'm just really nervous about the Nuggets right now. You have to start winning games. Like I get that you got to give some leeway, right? Because it's the beginning of the season.
They played a lot.
They played a lot in the bubble. There are teams that they're playing that didn't play a lot in the bubble. There are teams that are young, which is weird to say. Teams younger than the Nuggets, that's probably not true. But I assume the Kings are.
The Grizzlies are.
The Grizzlies.
Same like the Pelicans.
The Pelicans. Is Phoenix younger than the Nuggets?
I mean, Chris Paul just aged
Up
them
there,
up
yeah.
massively, but they were. I mean,
Yeah.
they were top to bottom one of the younger teams.
So you're
Devin Booker's still only like 23.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're watching some young teams that are running right now.
Yeah.
And outrunning us, honestly outrunning us. And I hope we figure that out.
RJ Hampton, baby.
Oh, dude. That would make my heart so big to watch RJ Hampton just get some minutes and dunk.
He's got some.
Get run with that second unit.
Yeah.
If you're Conley, do you at least call Detroit and say, what's the cost for Blake Griffin? Because Detroit has clearly, by bringing in who they brought in,
Chris is the
not-
trade scenario guy.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. No, this is my
I
queen.
would like Blake.
Who do you want?
When's
I
the
would
trade
take Blake.
deadline? We'll have a trade deadline
Shoots the
special.
3,
GM. Chris.
willing passer, willing enough defender, could play with Jokic, you actually could play Murray, or I'm sorry,
There was
Jokic.
a rumor
We were all pumped about
yeah,
it.
trying to get Blake
I would-
in that early season with a sign and trade. With,
They won out
with
of it.
Grant.
And it's not because he's a bad guy. They just know where their future is
Yeah,
headed.
I would like to have him.
Be sweet.
You
No,
can probably
we-
get him for the same thing. Honestly, the same package you would offer for Harden, you could get for Griffin. So which one would you rather have, Harden or Griffin?
I'd rather have James Harden. I hate to say that. But I think you could get
Griffin.
I think you could get Griffin
Yeah.
for less
Yeah. I think
I don't
than
know.
James Harden. I don't know.
He's a big body.
We were pumped about the Griffin trade rumors, by the way. Like the sign and
That's the
trade.
thing out there.
Yeah, the sign
I
and trade.
like that. I
Grant.
think it'd be great. That
I
would be
think
good.
it'd be
The DeMar
freaking
DeRozan
awesome.
trade rumors are pretty intriguing.
Nuggets are tied to him,
Yeah, I find that a little
Oh,
bit
that's
more.
real
I
intriguing.
find that one a little bit more intriguing than James Harden.
and he's become a much better passer,
Mhm.
like more willing. He's always been a good passer. He's just more willing to do it now with an offense. Like
Can I put a scenario out there? What do
Please.
you guys think about with Grant
Yes.
playing so well with Detroit right now? Because the reason why Grant left, we gave him the same amount of money Detroit did.
Yep.
He didn't want to play probably third fiddle to or fourth fiddle to MPJ. Would you rather have Grant or MPJ?
I'd rather have MBJ because he's on my team.
There you go. So would you rather have Grant or
I just like
Well,
Grant's defense.
yeah.
But no, I'd rather have MPJ because Grant's going to be a problem.
Watching JaMychal Green, this is kind of what I was getting at with the JaMychal Green thing. Watching JaMychal Green last night try to defend a 2 and a 3, I was like, wow, when we switched that last year, Jeremy Grant at least tried to defend those smaller guys. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could trust him to get a hand in the face. Mm-hmm. And I say that fully knowing that, like, LeBron James lit him up for, like, 30 every night. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But it's LeBron James. But at least Grant would try on those switches to get hands in the faces. JaMychal Green's a little slower, not quite as athletic.
Yeah.
But you sacrifice that for a little more, hopefully, a little more intensity, a little more I don't know, toughness, a little more, I don't know.
Leadership.
Watching Jeremy Grant's dunk last night really kind of cut to the core of me. It really got me.
Yeah.
I do think the Nuggets have to make a trade, though. I do not think they are.
There's a good chance
I
we'll
think
be
so
part
too.
of something.
I think, and this is, I have no reason to believe this, but I think part of our slow start is there's so many freaking trade rumors out there involving the Nuggets. You know what I mean? And I think, do you think Will Barton plays last night as poorly as he did until the fourth quarter? If there's not some,
in any, that's not true. He's been involved in plenty of the hard to talk. So
absolutely,
You're right.
And dude, same with Gary Harris. Do you not think that's in the back of those dudes' minds that like
it was in Gary Harris's mind last year too.
Exactly.
Well,
He's been on the trade block the last 2 years.
It's pretty much known that they want to get rid of him. I think, but he knows he has Malone on his side, though.
Yeah.
Malone always talks about how much he loves Gary Harris.
Gary.
He loves those three, man. He loves himself some Barton. He loves some Millsap. He loves some Gary. He loves his veterans and
hustlers.
Guys who work hard.
because Gary does work hard.
Teammate.
Can he make some shots and we'll be fine.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's end on just like, can we just end on something to be optimistic about here? Because I'm struggling with it. Chris, do you have anything the Nuggets should be optimistic about right now?
RJ Hampton.
Yeah, dude.
I
love that.
I love RJ Hampton.
I just think that guy is, for as young as he is, he's like 18, 19.
19.
Yeah.
So he's dumb and doesn't know any better. And I would just put him out there. And if Malone, who knows how to coach defense and can teach defense,
right?
Like you can throw X's and O's out there, but I think he gets one-on-one with the guy and says, "This is how you play defense." If he can teach RJ Hampton to be enough of a defender, because that's where you're going to get attacked on the end. So it's going to be
picked on.
You put him up against Dame Lillard.
Oh, dude.
He'll
give effort. He'll give effort.
Let him get burned and learn.
Right.
Like that's my optimism, is that RJ Hampton sees more minutes than what we were expecting when he was drafted. Because there's also a reason you move up.
Yeah.
Is that, well, the Nuggets are so great at like drafting a guy and developing. Like they moved up to get him. They could have drafted him in the second round, probably stashed him in Europe, let him keep playing for whatever New Zealand or Australia they play. I'm really optimistic about him maybe being like a second half spark plug. Playing with Murray, he's long, he's athletic like crazy.
Yeah, you guys know that I picked him for the dunk contest this year.
Yes.
So
he won't be rookie of the year.
No.
Which I do want to ask that question, and who you think it will be, because I'm curious. But I'm optimistic about RJ Hampton. I think I really hope he gets some shine this year.
I agree with you. That's a good reason to be optimistic. You guys, what are you optimistic about? We are not off to a good start.
No, we are not. I liked the way Murray played last night.
Yeah.
It was nice to see him attack the basket, get going, hit some outside shots, putting up the amount of points we need him to put up. Hopefully that was his figuring out this season game, and
legs under him,
and he'll be more consistent in getting those points up there. I have a lot of high hopes after seeing him play like that.
Yeah,
that he'll be able to continue that, which is going to help us win some games. That and the way Jokic has been playing has been great.
Yeah.
those are both two good highlights. I'm excited about RJ Hampton. I was really stoked when we moved up to draft him. Coach Malone doesn't like playing rookies, so I don't know how much time he'll actually get. Maybe injuries and COVID will benefit him, and he'll get some playing time.
Yeah.
Or maybe Malone will decide to play a rookie a little bit more. And just see what happens.
That's a big baby.
Mhm.
I was pumped about Jamal Murray too. One thing, okay, so there was a talking point with Coach Malone, like how he wanted Jamal to play a better defensive game, right?
He's trying.
And he is trying,
He's
and
trying.
you didn't see that until he was out. Because De'Aaron Fox took it to Monte Morris and took it to anyone who tried to guard him. And I was just thinking during that game, man, if Jamal is in there, at least he's not getting to the paint every single time.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a really good point. Will, optimism?
Yeah, again with Murray playing well, and I think Green helps us start figuring out the rotations. We need to figure out that rotation, and I think Green will help us defensively, and because we are putrid on defense, and with him coming back, and then as he gradually gets more minutes, I think you'll see this team's defense start to play better. And yeah, I'm getting hope that we'll figure out that second unit and be a little bit more productive with Green coming back last night.
Yeah, I'm trying to remain optimistic, and it's been very hard for me last week and this week. But the fourth quarter last night against the Suns gives me some optimism. You know what I mean? It's like, this is who we should be. Now, let's start playing like this all the time, because the urgency needs to be there now. And if the urgency is not there tomorrow, we're in big trouble. You know what I mean? And I asked you guys this last week. I was like, was the Clippers game a must win? And you guys were like, no, it's too early. It's not a must win. And I was like, yes, it's a must win. It's a must win because you're playing teams in the West who are trying to take you out. And if there ever was a team that was susceptible to other teams thinking that they can move in front of them in the playoffs, it's the Denver Nuggets, maybe the Utah Jazz, but the Denver Nuggets is your guy. You're not gonna dethrone the Lakers.
Yeah.
You're not gonna dethrone the Clippers as much as you want to, as much as I want to.
They might dethrone themselves.
Right, they might. But after that, everyone in the West is like, I could be a 3 seed. Why? Because I played with the Nuggets last year. We lost, like Phoenix. We lost 4 close games, but we're right on the precipice of that. And then those teams all made moves, and we didn't really. And
trade deadline, we'll make it.
But fourth, yeah, dude, we will.
The Nuggets have not gotten blown out in games. The biggest loss they took was the Clippers.
And we came back,
and they were coming back.
Yeah.
So I think another point of optimism is they're not getting boat raced.
No,
they're not getting crushed by other teams. You don't want to lose to the Phoenixes and the Sacramentos because you have to win. Frankly, you have to win your Sacramento, your OKCs, your Memphises, your New Orleans. Those are the 4 teams you always have to win against.
You have to beat Phoenix. As good as Phoenix is now, you have to beat Phoenix now.
But they're not getting blown out.
You have to beat Golden State this year. You have to beat Golden State.
Yeah.
We'll beat them.
We'll beat them. We got to beat Utah this year.
Think we're getting better. We're being competitive, like Chris is saying. We just got to figure out that second lineup, and we'll be all right. I think you'll see different Nuggets in the upcoming weeks.
We're gonna have to figure it out, like you said.
You just
figure
can't
out that rotation.
Nuggets Nation. Come on, man. You gotta. This is your week, dude. Starting tomorrow, you have to have a great week. You have to have a great week. You cannot go into the 4th week of the season at 2-7 or 8 or 9 or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I know you want to wrap up, but as my guest appearance, I really would like to know who your Rookie of the Year pick is. Willie?
Rookie of the LaMelo Ball.
I hate the ball.
Yeah.
I hate the ball.
That's my pick.
You're probably right.
Uncle Timmy?
He'll get enough minutes to be up there. I mean, I don't know.
Tyrese Halliburton.
That's too good.
That's actually who I was going to choose after.
I had hope for Bull based on what we saw.
Because
Right.
he's eligible.
Because he's eligible. I had hope for Bull.
Not gonna get the minutes.
But he's not going to get the minutes. He's not going to get the playing time. So I don't want to see LaMelo win it. I can't stand the Ball family.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't have one.
You
My
mean
hope is Ball?
after RJ Hampton?
After RJ Hampton's second half surge.
Right, yeah.
RJ Hampton, Bull.
Halliburton and this is only because I've watched him twice now and once in the preseason. He really fits that Kings team well. He contributes.
Mm-hmm. Perfect compliment.
He's a great compliment to De'Aaron Fox, and but that's only because I've watched him. So this is what it must be like being on
twice.
three times, once in the preseason. This must be what it like East Coast bias. I'm West Coast bias, right? Because I've only watched Halliburton 3 times.
That's okay. To be West Coast
Let's
bias.
be West Coast bias.
West Coast bias. There's
What's
a
yours,
huge
Chris?
East Coast bias.
So I don't think you're off with LaMelo for the fact that one, the kid can play, and he has a better shot than what he had a year ago, and
He's been playing well, right?
He's better
He
than
had
any of
like
his
15 and
brothers.
7 last night, like 27 minutes. Like he
better
makes
than any of
them
his
fun and
brothers.
relevant. So when you make a team fun and relevant, you're on the highlights, so you're always being seen. So you're just constantly in the conversation. Halliburton's a great pick. Shockingly, I was not expecting this. The number 1 overall pick, Anthony Edwards, is getting like 17 a night
That's awesome.
without a ridiculous shooting percentage, and he's doing it on a bad Wolves team. Well, they're better than Nuggets right now, but
yeah.
he has a chance. So I was going to come into this saying LaMelo. I feel like it's going to be. I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards. I really want to say Alexander Pokuševski. I know you guys are up.
Is it only because you wanted to say Pokuševski?
He's a skinny ass dude for the Thunder, and he's got like a little bit of Dirk in him, just minus like 100 pounds. But I think it's gonna be Anthony Edwards. So thank you. I've been super curious.
Okay, well, since you brought shooting percentage up, there are 2 Nuggets. This is it. There are two Nuggets in the top 5 shooting percentage in the NBA. Can you name those 2 Nuggets? No.
Jokic
and MPJ.
Wow.
MPJ is in the top 5 shooting. The MPJ stat made me so hopeful. I was like, really? Because you shoot all the time, and you're in the top 5. Talk about it, man.
He's starting to rebound and get offensive.
Exactly.
rebounds.
He's getting close buckets.
MPJ is not, and he's shooting 57% while shooting a high percentage of 3-pointers. There's a lot of hope in that kid, man. I'm just telling you.
He's a great trade chip.
So do I.
All right. Hey, we love you guys. Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. I'll go upstairs.